This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by the Powerful Answers Award, presented by Verizon. It's an amazing opportunity for entrepreneurs to win up to $1 million to help solve the world's biggest problems. To win, submit your idea by June 18th to verizon.com/powerfulanswers/award.
What the tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. We're doing the show a little early today, an hour early. I got a meeting with my lawyer, and that's always fun, isn't it?
I was going to say, it sounds great.
It sounds like a great time.
I could come along.
Yeah. Those conversations are never fun. It's a little tiny thing I got to do. I got to change some paperwork around. But how you doing? Everything's good? You enjoyed your weekend? You had a nice Memorial Day weekend?
I need every day to be Memorial Day weekend. You know?
I don't like the Mondays off. It messes me up. Like all day today, I think it's Monday.
No, see, the 3-day weekend is the gift that keeps on giving because the weekend of the weekend, it's awesome because you're off for 3 days. And then you go back to work and that kind of stinks. But it's only 4 days long that week. It's awesome.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's just getting back to work on Tuesday. Not like I really have to go get back to work on a Tuesday, but the whole concept of I have to get stuff done, it throws me off because Mondays I get everything done, and Tuesdays I just wait to talk to you, and that's the end of my day.
Wow.
I just wait by the phone.
This has been a surprise.
I wait by the Skype.
Tuesday. Wait by the Skype.
Yeah. Did you, before we get into the notes, I was reading this, I forgot where I got it. Somebody sent me a link, and it was saying that Windows 10 runs better on...
Yeah, that's an idiotic opinion, and I don't want to discuss that.
Okay. It just came to mind.
It is literally not true.
Okay.
It literally cannot be true. And I'm glad that he likes the way it's running. But what I'll tell anyone who runs Windows on a Mac in boot camp is that a simple phrase, wait for it. Because all those little third-party utilities you're doing that make things work properly, they actually stop working over time. So have fun with that. But the problem is it can't happen because Apple limits the way that you can apply Windows to the disk. So it can never run as efficiently as macOS 10 does. It's literally hobbled by design. That's how Apple does it.
Well, Apple's doing it to their own stuff. Like if you change the SSD on the MacBook Pro, like the one I have, it doesn't have trim enabled. They disabled it for third-party hard drives on the Mac.
Yeah. Yep.
And I just don't understand. Like, why would you do that? Why?
Apple is a complicated animal. I don't know.
There's obviously a workaround it. You could do stuff to it. There's a code you could do something, put something in terminal and get it to work. It's a whole thing. But why would you do that? You enable it on your own stuff, but you disable it on third-party stuff. It's just like, hey, screw you, you know?
It is literally, it's not like, it is literally,
screw
hey,
you.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Paul, before we get into it, I want to talk about Google I/O for a little bit.
Okay.
Google I/O is coming up. I totally forgot about Google I/O. I totally forgot it was coming up. And it's bizarre that I forgot because every year I look forward to it because I'm always anticipating a really good like Google TV or anything else, and it was actually quite lackluster about the Google TV announcement, the Android TV announcement that I really don't care as much as I normally have in recent years. But
I just think as time goes by, it's like, like you hear Apple's like, we're not going to do a TV, and like you find like they did have plans to make a TV, and then realize it's ridiculous for all the reasons anyone looking into this would realize it's ridiculous. And not that this is exactly the same thing, but I think at some point you just have to say the stuff that they have sort of works. There's stuff out there, that sort of works. And they don't really need a literally Google TV like the analog to Apple TV. It's fine. I think if you want Google content in your living room, you can get it there.
Yeah, and I have a whole point about this, but I'm going to hold off on it, and we're going to talk about our latest sponsor, and that's the Powerful Answers Award presented by Verizon. This is actually an amazing opportunity. For entrepreneurs, we have a lot of viewers that have their own startups, have their own companies. They're innovators, they're inventors. It's a huge amount of viewers that we have that are really making some change. And this actually is something for you guys. If you're an entrepreneur, your company is innovating around the world, coming up with products that could help save people's lives and help fix the world's problems. This is actually a really interesting concept that they have. Verizon is committing to advancing technologies and driving innovation beyond its core services. So what they've done, they've set up this amazing thing where you could win up to $1 million for an innovative solution in the area of transportation, emergency response, and the Internet of Things. That is the word of 2015, guys. Internet of Things.
Not Linux on a desktop.
Linux on a desktop will not win you the $1 million for an innovative solution. Last year's awards, for example, Paul, a smartphone for people with disabilities, a new organ donation program that reduces the wait time, eco-friendly charcoal for Africa, and better storage for vaccines. So Linux on the desktop may not qualify you to win. This is how you could do it. If you or your company has an innovative solution that could help make an impact on the world, submit your idea now through June 18th to verizon.com/powerfulanswers/award. All submission details could be found on the website, obviously. It's actually a really cool thing that they're doing. I looked at some of the stuff from last year. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up here. So here's our website. So this is how you go and you submit it. You have different categories. And you just go through it. These were last year's winners right here. If you want to find out what they did, that awarded them the prize. Thank you to the guys at Verizon for creating this, for presenting this award. The Powerful Answers Award presented by Verizon. We want to thank them for supporting What the Tech and the GFK Network. There you go. That was a cool read, Paul.
Nicely done.
Nicely done. Like, pat on the back for me. No, it's actually, it makes it so much easier when it's a really cool idea like this. Something that the viewers would be interested in. Because a lot of our viewers are smart. I don't know if you know that, Paul. We took a poll a couple years ago on our website. It was a survey done by Podtrack, and I was blown away. Either people are lying about how smart they are and the amount of money they make, or we got millionaires watching.
Lying liars who lie.
Liars. It's all 13-year-old children.
Yeah, exactly.
Just watching to troll us. That's exactly what it is. Let's talk about Google I/O a little bit. Do you feel that way too? Like this year, I don't really feel like Android M, right? That's their next operating system, which we don't know the name. Apparently, it's Macadamia Nut Cookie.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Is that real? Because I heard that and I said that is the dumbest name I've ever heard.
That's my understanding. Is that's the name?
Okay,
but yeah, I mean, I think it's in keeping. I'd seen someone had like a picture of a bag of marshmallows, like it must be marshmallow, but I believe it is
M&Ms, maybe M&Ms.
Yeah. Sure, but they would have had to have paid for that, and I'm guessing they said no.
I guess that's what it was. Android M. They're not really. There's not a lot of information that came up about it beyond they're gonna fix bugs. It's gonna get a little bit better with performance. Obviously, I think we're in that stage right now with operating systems. Windows 10 is the only one really that's gonna make some sort of drastic change from the prior version.
Right.
Especially to their UI and core functionality. They're making some major changes. I don't think Google or an Apple are going to be doing this over the next, year. They're just working on performance changes. But Lollipop was a pretty big upgrade from the prior version. It was big enough where they don't have to do it anymore. I mean, I could tell you right now that...
Actually, I was going to say the same. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but real quick.
Go.
What do you think of the notion of... I would put this out to both Apple and Google. And maybe this is I believe they're sort of positioning this as a minor upgrade, Android M, right? Let's not give it a letter. Let's call it 5.2. Let's use this one to get it right. Like, why don't we spend the next year fixing things, filling in holes, letting the user base catch up? On Android in particular, you've got people on all these different versions. I mean, why are we forging ahead to some new version number? Like, let's just, use this. And I would put this on, to Apple in a different way, too, because I think you alluded to this or had started to talk about this, the notion that Apple's going to do kind of the same thing with iOS, let it work on older devices, that kind of thing. That's nice. But Apple is more of like a hardware company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why do we have to have a new iPhone this holiday season, right? Like, why don't they just keep the iPhone 6 in the market and 6 Plus, and then they could add a 6C, and maybe the new one could come out in the spring. Why don't they stretch it out to 18 months? It seems like they have a wellspring of interest in this product, that people will upgrade to this product when their contracts, end or whatever, and that they could milk this one for longer than a year. I mean, why? Well, is there some enduring problem with the iPhone as it is right now that needs to be fixed in September?
Well, I guess, here's a good question, okay? So the contracts are 2 years, they're 24-month contracts. So it has to be on a yearly...
Okay.
It has to be on a yearly
but everyone's contract's different. I guess what I'm saying is, I just saw some analyst had made the comment that there was a lot of headroom left in iPhone 6 sales, that they will see stronger than usual sales throughout this year partially because other people are coming off contract in the next 6 months and they all want to upgrade to this one, where that's not always the case. A lot of years, customers will look at the iPhone that's in the market at the time and say, I think I'm going to wait until the next big one hits.
Well, I guess here's the thing. If your contract is expiring, right, I guess they're going with the assumption that people get these phones on release dates or release week or release month. So the majority of iPhone users get it in that time period. And if they don't release a new iPhone every, 12 to 24 months based on the contract, for those people, they may jump over.
But they
are
would.
They going to wait?
I guess
or
what
are
I'm
they
saying is...
that's the
would,
question.
right?
They would. They would wait. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
So, I mean, look, it doesn't matter what Apple does in September. As a percentage, as a raw number, almost no one is going to upgrade from an iPhone 6 to an iPhone
6S,
whatever it's called, 6S or whatever.
These are the iPhone 5 users,
right? Especially if they retain the body style, which they tend to do, which they should do, I would say, because honestly, I think they've hit something near perfect with this one. But whatever. And I know there's ClickPad stuff coming, and whatever other things, the small improvements to the camera and that kind of stuff. But I honestly feel like I like the news that I heard about Apple, that they were going to take this time to make the OS work better on older devices.
Which it works. Have you used the latest version on an iPad 2?
The latest version? You mean the beta version or the...
No, the latest version of the current operating system. So what is it? 9?
No,
8,
I mean,
8,
my daughter
8?
still uses an iPad 2.
Okay.
But you're telling me it's garbage.
It is brutal.
Okay, but you understand that the one of the big knocks against Apple over the past several years has been that they do this on purpose, right? That they never optimize for the older devices because they're forcing obsolescence. What they want is for you to buy a new device. That's how they make money. The notion that the notion that some company would say, look, we already make more money than every company on earth combined almost. We don't need it. It's okay. We're going to match what we create within software to the actual buying practices of our customers, which in the case of iPads in particular, is to hang on to them for much longer than they do with a phone. I think a phone 2 years is about right. An iPad maybe 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years.
What's 4 or 5 years ago? It's like the first iPad.
Well, it came out when? 2011.
2010 was the first one.
Yeah, so it is 4 years. Yeah. iPad 2 is 4 years.
5 years. I mean, it's been 4 years since the iPad 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they could, I think the iPad 2 it's a really thin device. It's got that big bezel that I know you love, and it has it doesn't have like a Retina screen, but it has I think it's good enough. It's like a nice. It's something you can give to a kid and not worry about.
My wife, she has an iPad 2 that was given to her from her job, and that's what she uses. She's fine with her iPad 2. She doesn't really, for what she does, it's okay. But the problem with the iPad 2 is yes, it's 4 years old. I get it. But it is, with every version, it is so brutal. And there are people that are going to say, well, you know what? 4 years is long enough. Well, if you had the same experience on your laptop, on a decent mid to high range laptop,
that would be unacceptable.
4 years, the manufacturer, Samsung or Asus or Lenovo said, yeah, you know what? It's obsolete now with software updates. Sorry, you're not going to get the same performance. You're going to get really angry.
Here's what would make that okay. If the iPad 2 cost, $200 when it was new, I mean, the problem is an iPad 2 when it was new, or a new iPad, whatever they're called now, an iPad Air 2 is $500 or $600 or $800. I mean, these are really expensive machines.
Because 16 gig, you cannot get a 16 gig. That's a
even if you could, you shouldn't get. I mean, you're saying
no, in the sense that you can't do anything with a 16 gig anymore.
No, it's absolutely unless yeah.
And I went on this rant yesterday, last week, and you saw I put it on Twitter, and I got so much crap for it, where people were saying, "Well, I thought you were a cloud guy," or "What are you putting on here?" And I have to explain to them, some of these apps are a gig and a half.
I run into this all the time, and
the Core OS is taking 4 gigs.
Right. You would just said, like I deleted Microsoft Word. It's like, of course you did. Like, it's just sitting there taking up space.
700 megs, Microsoft Word. Yeah. So
if you look at their new product lines, if you look at their new devices, what you'll see is they always go from 16 to 64, right?
Yeah.
The 64 is what everyone should have. So they can say, well, we sell an iPad Mini 3 for $399. But really, I mean, unless you're either seriously uneducated about what's happening here, or I don't know why you would buy a 16 gig. I mean, I can't even imagine.
I'm going to tell you something.
It's really $499.
I never thought it would be that much of a problem to have a 16 gig, because I didn't anticipate the file size of these applications to expand to the point that it has. Because obviously more graphic intense. By the way, that's
the other problem with the Retina screens. That's why they're so big.
Yeah.
They're pumping, I mean, thousands of pixels on the screens. It's somewhat pointless. I mean, I don't know.
I couldn't do it. I just sat there and I just deleted everything. I deleted everything. I have.
What's the cheap iPad now? Like the
Mini?
Well, I mean the big size one. So it's literally iPad Air and iPad Air 2. Is those are the choices?
Yeah.
I mean,
and the Air is great.
Sure, but so really the entry level price for this thing is $449.
So let's see.
And that's for a 32 gig version.
All right, so let's see. If I'm getting the iPad Air 2,
$600.
$600, 64 gig.
$600.
That's a lot of money.
And it is a lot of money, and I think it's reasonable for people to expect that purchase to last as long as other technology products that cost $600, i.e., a laptop. So 4 years, I think, is not too much to ask. Anyway, I'm kind of dumping on them for this. This is an old story. We all know this.
Yeah.
If the rumors are true that iOS 9, which shouldn't be called iOS 9, God, I mean, how about 8.5 and just call, the cleanup apology release? They could just make this thing run acceptable on these older devices, make it take up less space, something Microsoft has worked on with Windows, right? I applaud that. I hope that that's true. I really want that to be true.
I hope it's true too, because it kind of gives this sense of, well, I could buy this thing and know I could use it for the next 5 years.
Sure.
And listen, there are people out there, and we're a little jaded in this community because we like to go and buy stuff, and knock on wood, I could go and afford to buy another iPad if I wanted to, but just because I can doesn't mean that I should. And there are people that can't do that, and it's kind of a kick in the face when you have something that's 3 years old and all of a sudden you get the latest update and it is brutal to use. It would not, you would not tolerate this on the PC. Technically, with every release of Windows, you're getting better performance on older hardware.
Yeah,
that's how it always been.
And right, and that, like I said, like
except
that's
for Vista. I mean, Vista, forget it. But beyond Vista,
but I appreciate that they've done that. Like, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, and if Apple were to do it, I would think that would be really cool too. They have so many customers; it would be such a good PR move. iPad sales are going to naturally follow whatever life cycle that they follow. No matter what Apple adds to iPad Air 3 this year, who cares? There's no thing coming that's going to make iPad Air owners upgrade. So why not support those guys?
Yeah, because before you were upgrading regardless, right? Because there were major changes between the iPad and the iPad 2. There was a tremendous jump in, specs.
Or at that
hardware.
point, maybe you were just getting new customers. I'm actually not positive anyone was really ever upgrading from device to device, but it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, the current state of the business is that people don't do that.
Except if you're forced into like phones, and it's also disposable. iPad, I think with the iPad and tablets and phones, we tolerate the fact that the performance kind of gets crappier and crappier with every release and the more you use it, because we look at it as disposable hardware. We don't look at it as, okay, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to use this for a couple of years.
Right.
Laptops are a little different because you're investing money into it. But I mean, even with laptops, now we have $399 laptops, and some people really don't care to have the highest end thing. They just throw this thing away after 2 years and they get a new one. They give it to somebody else.
Well, I mean, I think, look, the math is going to be a little bit different for everybody. And I would like to think that I at least have my mind open to the people who just can't afford things. But I think for a lot of us, if you spend $200 or maybe $300 on a laptop or a Chromebook or anything that costs that much money, a couple of years of usage, of actual usage out of that from an adult is probably okay, But when you start moving up to 400, 500, 600, 800, it becomes kind of an investment. Like, I think people expect that thing to last. They expect it to last, and then they expect to hand it off to someone else who's going to keep using it too.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a different kind of product. And I think Apple in particular, because they're selling a certain kind of level of quality, I think they need to be smart about that too.
I don't know.
I think that it sounds like they are. I mean, I'm trying to be positive here, right?
Yeah, with the next version. I mean, that's what and I think their event is what, in 2 weeks?
Which one? The Apple one?
Yeah, WWDC.
WWDC?
Yeah.
Actually, do not know when that is. It's in June.
June 6th or 8th or 9th.
Is it really that early?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
June 8 to 12.
Yeah.
That's good. That's not that long. It's in 2 weeks.
So it's in 2 weeks, which we're going to be doing coverage here at the network, guys. Every year we do the Apple events, and people ask us, why do you only do Apple and you don't do the other guys? Because nobody watches the other ones. That's the honest truth.
Nice.
We have done it. We've done Microsoft events. We've done Google events, and nobody cares to watch it. So we do the Apple ones because it's interesting and people are interested in it, and I see a lot of people's perspective on it in the chat room, and that's why we continue doing it. So we're going to do that. Google I/O is coming up in 2 days. Android M, and I'm surprised we have not gotten a lot of the leaked information about Android M.
There's been some stuff. I mean,
not as much. I mean, the refocus apparently is going to be based on battery technology, and it's going to give you better battery life. It's going to optimize RAM better, so these applications aren't, killing the RAM on the phones.
Yep.
It's not as...
But I like that stuff. That's what I like to see.
I do too.
I think you mentioned Android L or Android 5.0 was, material design. It was kind of the big bang release. It was their version of iOS 7 or whatever, as far as like a new UI, user experience, whatever.
I think they're going to have to, because I'll tell you something. The battery life on Android L in Lollipop is not that good. They did not do a good job with battery optimization. I'm having a lot of problems with the Samsung, and it could be Samsung, it could be the other one, but I've installed L on all my devices, and I'm noticing that the battery life is not that great on them.
Right.
It's a little disappointing to see what the battery life is. They have cleaned up, I'm going to tell you something. For years, I've been really critical of Android, and I'm an Android user, and I feel like with the last version, they really, really cleaned up a lot of these issues and a lot of the stability issues that they've been having over the last, 4 years.
I mean, I don't use Android enough to have an opinion about the battery life issues that may or may not, be in Android 5. I still find myself just, like kind of uninterested in it. And I feel weird about that because I really do feel like Android is, the windows of the mobile world. I mean, it's the same thing. Lots of hardware makers, lots of choices, wide open ecosystem, the ability to really go nuts and attack the hardware if you want to.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what the hardware is. Anybody can make it.
Yeah. And I just don't really find myself all that. I still can't get super excited about it. I don't know.
Is there anything you're excited about Android at all? You like the Nexus 5.
I like the Nexus 5. I don't know if we just talked about this, but I find it notable that those two previous gen Nexus devices, the Nexus 5 phone and the Nexus 7 tablet, I thought were really solid. And Nexus 6 doesn't do anything for me, and Nexus 9, which I own, is like I never use it. I'm very disappointed in it, and I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's sort of like the Pixel is kind of like this. I don't think they're attacking the right part of the market. I think Android is the mainstream. It's not the upper echelon. And I just don't think they do that well because the ecosystem is too scattered. People who buy kind of pedestrian phones from whatever carrier because 2 years are up and they're not looking for big brands. They're just looking for whatever the good deal is at the time. They're buying Android phones. They don't really care. I know that they want high quality and they want it to be better and they want it to be good design. And I sort of appreciate all that stuff. But I really think the basics are more important. And so I say that I'm never going to use the thing. It doesn't really matter. But I don't know. I look at this. I'll pay attention to it. I'll watch the Google I/O stuff. I am, of course, curious about what they're doing. And I don't know.
So you brought up something interesting that they're like the Windows of the mobile world, and that's absolutely true. We one of our viewers is an app developer, FconSoft on Twitter, and he developed an Android app for us, and it's on Android, it's on the tablets, it's on Android TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. He just updated the application. I have a picture here of my TV in my bedroom. But I went to go use it, and you know what? It's a seamless experience on all the platforms, and that's what the pro is. You could develop an application, and it could be on all these different devices. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's Samsung or HTC. They're all running the same ecosystem, and they're all running the same apps, essentially. So that's the pro there. But for me, when it comes to stability, I still think that iOS is far more stable than Android is. They've gotten a lot better, but overall stability, for me, I still stand by iOS.
Yeah.
I
would say, especially since Tim Cook took over, and maybe especially since iOS 8. It seems like there's a lot of stuff I don't like about iOS. I'm amazed they're still on grid of icons. This many years later, we're still looking at grids with little numbered, overlays on them instead of actual live notifications on the screen. But
I'm predicting it right now. The next version of iOS is not going to have the square box. It's going to be all circles for the apps.
All circles?
All circles.
Not rounded rectangles?
No, not all circles.
That would be the final nail in the coffin. That's maybe a terrible phrase to use. For the kind of design aesthetic that, Steve Jobs was pushing.
But we've moved away from that, haven't we? The rounded corners.
We have. What do you mean we? As
circles.
iOS still has rounded rectangles. I don't know.
They're gonna go away from it. That's gonna be the major shift in iOS 9.
Well, if you look at flat design like iOS 8 has, or like Android 5 has, or like Windows has, I actually think that lends itself better to squared up shapes. Not to mention the fact that it's a better use of real estate, and it's also a better surface on which to put notifications that are textual in nature.
Yeah, circles are in the avatar and the contact lists on iOS 8 right now, and MFB in our chat room says diamonds. We need it to be diamonds.
Diamonds. So this in Windows 10 timeframe, one of the design tenets that Microsoft has, which by the way they might have, I don't want to say copied from Apple, but kind of come to the same conclusion as Apple on, is the notion that circles are people, which is why you see circles on things that are people. So when you log into a Windows 10 PC, just as when you log into a Mac, right? The picture is in a circle. It's not in a rounded rectangle. It's not in a square. The contact list, a list of people in a messaging conversation, circles. I don't. How do you? I don't know why. I think some people are blockheads.
I want everything to go circles. I want everything to go
should be circles.
Isn't it circles on the watch?
Yep.
The Apple Watch UI is all circles. So I want just.
Do we really think that the Apple Watch UI has any legs at all, though? It almost looks like an experiment.
I think it is.
Let's see how people react to this.
Well, I think when you're a company like Apple, you know that people are going to buy it anyway because it goes inside of your ecosystem. It connects to everything that you already have. So the people that are buying it, it's a first-gen device. It is an experiment. And all these first-gen devices are an experiment. That's how I see it. If you're buying a first-gen device, you're pretty much a glorified beta tester for the company to know what to fix and what you're not using and what to remove and add.
I have a newsflash. We are that for all of these companies.
All these devices. I know.
We really are.
I know.
I am literally not picking on any one of them. Microsoft, Apple, Google, pick your choice, Facebook, we are literally beta testers for them. Of course we are.
I mean, look at Google TV, for example. Google TV was a giant beta test that failed.
Yep.
They just couldn't figure out what to do with it. They waited too long. They just didn't care for it. And all these people that committed to buying one, and these partners that committed to partnering with them and waited, because that was the other part of the story, that they had content partners set up, TV companies set up, and they just never updated anything. And these companies, Sony ate it, and all these other companies ate it.
Well, they are the new Microsoft. I mean, that's what Microsoft did before with, what do they call it? Web TV for Windows, with Windows Media Center eventually, with the various stores that they had in Windows Media Player. I mean, whatever, channels on the IE desktop, whatever. I mean, we've been doing this
for a long time.
Yeah.
Also, a new Chromecast is expected. Chromecast 2. Which, you know what, Paul? I've been crapping on this thing for a long time. 3 times in the last 2 weeks, it came in handy.
Really, Chromecast?
Yeah.
I very rarely use Chromecast, but
okay. I'm going to give you a scenario, and you tell me.
Use Android a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to give you a scenario, and you tell me how it would have worked for me.
Okay.
I had a movie, not a movie. It's actually, you're going to make fun of me, Paul.
Okay.
I buy wrestling. They're called shoot interviews.
Wow.
Where the wrestler.
The key part of that sentence was.
Yeah. I buy.
Okay.
So yep. I buy it online on demand. You could access it, and there are these interviews that the wrestlers do, talking about their entire careers and backstage stuff. So I got it all because this is what I do. I talk about pro wrestling. So I buy it and I watch it. It's in a player in a browser. How can I watch that on the TV?
Right.
If they don't have an app,
right, yep.
And I'm on a Mac, and I don't have an Apple TV set up.
Well, you're on a Mac.
I'm on a Mac. Yeah, so, but I don't have an Apple TV.
So you can do it. In other words, you use Chrome, and you use Chromecast to get it on the.
I use Chrome, and I just use Chromecast.
If you were on Windows, you could use Miracast. Same thing.
Miracast, yeah.
You put it in a browser, full screen it, Miracast it. That would work. But actually, to be fair to Chromecast, I mean, the Chromecast solution is more elegant, in that you're not just duplicating the screen. Although from a browser tab, I guess you would be, right? From a browser, you are technically probably getting the screen.
You are
the way
getting
Chromecast
screen,
works in apps is you're casting the content, and then you can use the device, whatever on-screen controls, to control the playback, which I actually kind of like.
Well, I like the fact that I can full screen it. I full screen it in the browser, and it doesn't full screen it on my actual browser. It full screens it on the display on the Chromecast, which is great. But the problem with that is, for whatever reason, my CPU shoots up to 100% when I Chromecast on a Mac, on an i7 Mac. So I don't know if that's just my computer. I don't know if that's Chromecast taking up a lot of CPU resources when you're doing this. But it is interesting that I could technically take my phone and just use my phone and do that with the phone. Right. It's good for people outside of the ecosystem. If you have an Apple TV and you have a Windows laptop or desktop, it's going to be very difficult for you to do that. So it kind of works in that sense for me. But I've been using it.
I mean, if you were completely within the Apple ecosystem,
you could use an Apple TV with AirPlay.
Could you?
Could you? I don't know.
That's what I mean.
Let me know.
I don't think you could. Well,
with Safari,
can you use AirPlay to blast the screen to an Apple TV? I don't know enough about it. Maybe.
I don't know. Can you do it within Safari? I don't know because I've never done it.
I bet you could. Yeah. I could talk myself into this one. Yeah, you probably could do that.
I'm embarrassed to say, as a Mac user, I haven't gotten that patch on my jacket yet. Like the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, ecosystem achievement.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I'm really looking forward to is them announcing that they're totally separating Google Photos from Google Plus, because it is absolutely ridiculous.
Ending our 5-year nightmare. From where we went from Picasa Web or whatever it was called to Google Plus and finally back to Google Photos.
It's actually really convoluted for people that really don't understand how it works, because they actually think that they're taking their photos and they're uploading it to Google Plus when they're really not.
Right.
They are, but they're not. Like, Facebook gives you that option too. It says, "Hey, would you like to upload all your photos to Facebook? It won't be public. It'll be private."
Sure.
But who feels confident enough to do that? I don't.
Yeah.
And I know this stuff, and I still don't want that to happen. I want it to be a separate ecosystem. I want it to be totally separate than what my social, networking application is. And you haven't been able to do it. But with that said, Google Photos is a phenomenal application on the phone. I use it to edit photos all the time, and I do a better job with Google Photos than I do on my desktop because it's so quick.
Right.
I had to crop an image, and it would have taken me, 20 seconds instead of 5. I mean, it's a small, minuscule size of a difference, but it makes a big difference in that sense. But I'm going to tell you, I've had this discussion with a lot of people that have Google Photo, they have an Android phone, and they don't upload to Google Photos. They don't back up their photos to Google Plus because they're afraid of it going to Google Plus.
Yeah, like this being they're afraid of it just being public.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, they should use OneDrive.
Yeah. Just use OneDrive. Nobody will get it there.
Nobody will ever see it there.
No one will ever see it because nobody's.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Connected homes are the other big thing that they're going to be doing. The smart home, the home of the future.
Sure.
Which everybody's doing right now, and of course, Google on the watch, whatever they're calling it now. You know what the other thing was that they were going to do, and I thought this was interesting because Microsoft is doing this with their, system on a chip type devices. What are they calling that version of Windows? The Raspberry Pi Windows.
I think it's just called Windows IoT Core.
IoT
Windows
Core,
10
yeah.
IoT Core.
So Android is going to be doing that, and it's going to be almost a dumbed down version of Android that you could essentially do the same thing on these low powered, devices.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I can see that. Sure.
So they're going to be doing that also. You remind me. I was going to ask you a question. So with that version of Windows, as a developer, I could technically take a Raspberry Pi, right,
Yep.
and put Windows on there, and set it to run at startup my Windows application.
Yeah, it's called Default App. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's
In
it.
fact,
That's all it does.
Yep. That's literally all it does.
Yeah.
It's like a direct one-to-one between the hardware and your app, essentially.
Yeah.
And whatever services you bring in.
So I wonder, is this? I mean, this is interesting now. So look at a company like Roku.
Yeah.
Roku could implement this in their Roku boxes. They could become Windows-based devices which run based on the Windows App Store.
I mean, I would imagine there are other hardware platforms that are a little more powerful, maybe. There may be advantages, like, I don't know what they're using, but you have to think that Roku is based on some kind of embedded Linux type thing.
It's Linux, yeah.
It's got to be. And there are concerns around RAM and storage and processor and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
But essentially, that's what's going to happen. Just like how we're seeing we saw it happen, but it didn't really pick up with these Android power TV set-top boxes.
Sure.
Someone could technically make these mini, Windows boxes that are running just a certain amount of apps, or their own platform of apps that people submit to that are running within Windows.
I'd like Microsoft to make one that runs Xbox Music and Xbox Video.
But couldn't somebody make that?
Maybe. The ability to get into the Xbox Music store is available now. I don't know about Xbox Video. I'm not sure how open it is. Obviously, Microsoft could just do it. Ideally, what they do is by the way, if they're so serious about getting their stuff everywhere, how about targeting the set-top boxes? Why don't we see those two services on Amazon Fire TVs, on Roku, in the Chrome? Well, are they? No, yeah. Well, they need to be on Android too. Music is, but it's terrible. Get video over there so you can Chromecast it.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's interesting.
Maybe that's next. Maybe that's where they keep going. Maybe they keep going, and that's part of it.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what kind of devices come from this.
Yeah, I am too. Actually,
I could have a GFQ device. It just runs my app.
That's very specific. I think a lot of it's going to be traditional embedded stuff, little weather station deals, and remote cameras and stuff like that. But home security or home automation type stuff is certainly possible. And I don't know. It's funny when you think I can't reach it from here, but when you think about the size of a Raspberry Pi, it's tiny, but it's also it's not something you can stick in a pencil. It's it's still like it requires some size. So you might want to build it into like a wall switch or something that you put inside a wall, for home automation or whatever. It's not something you would, it needs power.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can't just like magnetize it onto the wall or something. It's because it's going to have stuff coming off of it. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I mean, it's going to be it's an interesting future for them if people start implementing this on these devices. This was the type of device that Bill Gates was thinking about when he came to home automation with the future of Windows and the future of the internet. Sure. It was devices like this that were all running Windows as the core operating system, and they were powering your entire home, and they were communicating with each other. It's going to be much easier for your home desktop to communicate with all these devices if they're all running the same operating system.
Right.
I don't know. Just thought out loud for a second.
No, you're right. In fact, that ties into something I was just thinking about this morning, which is that how nothing has really changed. The names have all changed of the companies or the technologies or the products, but we're just doing the same stuff over and over.
Yeah, it's a concept from 20-something years ago.
Yeah,
that's finally possibly happening.
They used to call it they used to call it Windows Everywhere, but before they called it that, they used to call it NT Everywhere.
Yeah.
I think the places it was going to go was a little more limited than we imagined today, but it was basically the same concept.
Oh, the future! It's the possibilities are endless.
The future's always going to be awesome.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You're watching the show a little early today on the GFK Network. If you're watching live, you're watching on demand. Guess what? That did not happen, and I did not say those words. After the show, each and every week, we record a show called What the Talk. It's exclusive on Patreon. Patreon.com/WhatTheTech is the URL. And we do a little bonus show for you guys each and every week. We've been doing our Throwback Tuesdays. Paul's been saving them for the bonus show, and people are really enjoying these Throwback Tuesdays. The discussion and chat room while we're doing this is really, really cool because people are always reminiscing about them using the technology that we're talking about or them never using it. They use another option at the time. So it's always great to hear those stories. What was it last week that we did? It really picked up
It was
steam.
related to, what was it?
The internet, logging on.
Just the internet.
Yeah.
Was that it, though? I can't remember.
No, you brought up something, and then it turned into that. We were talking about...
Well, because there were two halves. It was, I'm losing my mind.
I am too, don't worry.
I had been thinking about the internet tidal wave stuff, which I finally wrote up today, not last week like I intended. And the two halves of it were like devices and internet connectivity.
Yeah, internet connectivity.
And
because I brought up the fact that I had the dual bonded modems.
Yeah.
And it never worked. And almost every email that I got regarding that was I bought a modem like that from a computer show, and guess what? Did not work either.
Right.
Like it was probably even fake. It probably who God knows what it was,
No, I remember this.
No, I remember the real ones. They were expensive. They're like $150, $200. I paid like $20 for this thing.
Oh, okay.
So who knows what it was? So we always have those fun discussions. If you want to watch that show, and if you want to tip us, you want to support the show, what we're doing, what we're going to do, I think, is if we hit the $600 goal, we're going to set up an RSS so you guys could have an RSS and get this podcast available on all these devices. We're going to try an experiment. If it works, it works. It doesn't, guess what? It didn't work. So something we're trying to do, you go to patreon.com/whatthetech. You can fund us $0.25, $0.05, $5, $10, $20, whatever you want to fund us, we will accept. And we're going to record the show in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned if you're watching live. If not, you can watch it on Patreon. I wanted to ask you a couple questions, Paul. So, and I wanted to see what you think of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm buying a new car. My lease is expiring on Justice Infinity, and okay. I want to get something new. The problem I'm having with all these cars is they're all the same essentially now. They all have the same thing. Every car is the same, but they all suck when it comes to technology.
Yep.
Nobody is doing it right.
You're in a really bad spot.
I really am, because if I waited another year, in a year, all these cars are going to have Google, the Google Auto, and they're going to have the Apple CarPlay. So I'm in this screwed up situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, I almost wonder if you shouldn't wait if you can, because that's about to get a lot better.
I can't wait. I actually thought, can I extend my lease another year?
Yep.
I don't know if that's possible.
You might want to find out.
Because everybody's about to change the way that they do, in car technology.
It's so variable from car to car. I mean,
So Hyundai is the first one to put Android Auto in their car.
Honda or Hyundai?
Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Hyundai. Well, I've heard Hyundai and Hyundai. Depending on who you talk to, they put in the Sonatas.
I remember looking at a Hyundai when they were new to America in 1987. Wait, or was it 85? Well, I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time. Anyway, what a piece of junk that thing was. The first one. They're actually really nice now.
It's crazy. It's the same. I was just talking to someone that bought a
Mitsubishi engine.
There were Mitsubishi engines, yeah.
At the time, yeah.
I was just talking to someone that bought a new Hyundai, and one of our friends goes, "My God, you bought a Korean car? What are you, nuts?" And I go, they said the same about Japanese cars. I mean,
exactly.
I'm like, your dad said that about 25 years ago. Now you're repeating it.
This is the joke from Back to the Future, where something is Japanese, and the people from the 1950s are like, those guys only make these little junky trinkets, and it's like, yeah, not exactly. In fact, in the 1980s, America was obsessed with Japan. Remember, because they were gonna take over everything.
It's now, I mean, it's a Korean car, and it's as good as everything else that's being produced out there. So they're the first ones to put this in. Now, I'm in a really crappy position because nobody else is doing it right. So I don't know what to do.
Right.
I don't want to go with a Ford. No offense to people that drive Fords. I just don't want to go with Ford because I'm not too crazy about their system either. So
I don't know. I would probably be okay with the Ford thing.
I went to go lease one. When they had the new Edge, because Jess didn't want to spend as much money, so I went, and it was much more than getting an Infinity for the lease. I could not believe it. They were asking in a ridiculous amount for the car.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you're going to end up paying the same anyway, but I just don't know what to do. If anybody has any recommendations, people are saying, why don't you go with a Jeep? Because Jeep actually has I don't know what's happening in our chat room. Do you see this? Oh, my God.
I can't see the chat.
Our chat died, and then now it's coming back, and everybody's getting logged in at the same time. And people are saying to go with a Jeep because Jeep does it well for what it is. So you're saying wait another year.
I think you should buy a 1986 Hyundai Excel.
A Hyundai Excel, that's what I need to get.
It's got a Mitsubishi engine, so you know it's good. I don't know.
God.
Listen, you're talking to a person that just went backwards in time technologically in my car. I have a radio.
But you have the Volkswagen, don't you?
Well, we have different cars. I mean,
you have a newer one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. But I mean, my car, soon will be only this older Mercedes. So it's got a radio. It doesn't even have like an aux in it. Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know there are add-on kits. In fact, there are sophisticated kits that will replace the radio and stuff and look just like it. In fact, they're Mercedes parts. But I don't know. I don't know. I like to have the option. I think the biggest thing in the car is honestly navigation, not the content. But I don't commute.
And they suck too. I mean, the navigation all sucks.
I mean, for a phone. I mean, for
the phone, yeah. The phone is great. The navigation on the phone.
That's why the Android car stuff with the Apple Car, whatever they're calling it. What are they calling this stuff?
Apple CarPlay.
Apple CarPlay. What a terrible name. Anyway, whatever that stuff is, will be ideal because you'll be using apps on their phones essentially.
So I'm in this weird.
In fact, Apple CarPlay is apparently we didn't really realize this when they announced it, but Apple CarPlay is really just the Apple Watch with a bigger screen. I mean, it's the same thing, right? You need
same thing, yeah. It's actually really interesting how it is. So I'm in that position right now where I don't know what.
So what do you think you're gonna do?
I don't know. If I announce what I'm looking at, people are going to call me really obnoxious. So I'm not going to say it right now because I'm most likely not going to get it. But
then I think you absolutely need to say it because
I was looking at a Range Rover.
Jesus,
they're inexpensive. They have the cheap ones. I would go with the cheap
inexpensive. One. Did you just say those words?
They have a cheap one. They have a
Range Rover or Land Rover.
Range Rover. They have a cheaper Range Rover now.
Do they?
Yeah. I don't want to go with a Mercedes because I don't like their navigation units.
Okay.
I actually want to go with a.
Which one's the cheap one? Is it Evoc?
The Evoc, but just does not like that one.
I see. I don't know anything about these.
There's a Sport that's a little cheaper, and they have a very
LR2. Oh, a Sport.
Yeah,
this is still pretty expensive, but okay, fair enough.
It's you know what it is.
It's no more expensive than probably an Explorer is of the same.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're leasing, they don't care. They're just giving those things away. It's the most insane thing. Like you go on a good day, you're gonna get it for the same price that you would buy, a Chevy for. Which I like the new Chevys too. So if I bought a sedan, it'd be much better.
I mean, look, people don't buy things this way, but one of the things I do like in newer cars is when the screen either pops up out of the dash or just sits on the top of the dash, rather than being a smaller screen in the dash, down in the dash. I think that, and I'm basing this purely on what zero evidence, but I believe that would be slightly less dangerous to look at that screen from time to time than when you're kind of looking down trying to see the tiny. I don't know.
Listen, for me, I could drive a piece of crap. It doesn't matter. This is Jess's car, so she has certain things that she wants with it.
Sure.
So all I want is to be able to connect my Bluetooth without having an issue. That's all I want.
Oh, you can't be guaranteed.
Does not exist.
Yeah, no, it may exist. You'll just never know.
Yeah, who knows? It's so brutal. It's so brutal. What I was thinking is, I wonder if they're going to make some sort of aftermarket adapter where you connect to the entertainment system, where it'll like override the screen, so you could actually buy like an Apple Play device where it connects. So
I really do think that stuff is coming, but not now. I mean, the next couple of years are just going to be about getting those into devices. Into vehicles directly, right? I mean, the aftermarket stuff will come, but I don't think
because it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, you could get like a converter. Like, remember they had, like, if you had XM or Sirius, you could actually get a converter that converted one platform to the other for your in-dash navigation.
Oh.
So I'm wondering if you're going to be able to kind of do that, where you could take it to a dealer and they put this adapter in, so when you connect your phone, it overrides whatever their process is, and it goes to the Apple Play or whatever it is, and you just use their system.
Right.
It's such a pain in the ass. Like maps, they want to charge you $150 to update a map.
Right.
At the dealership. It's insane. Why? Why do I have to pay for this?
You shouldn't be using it. Just use the thing in your phone.
Yeah. The other thing that I saw this week, and I thought it was interesting, Google Fiber sending out automatic fine letters. They're fining people automatically that are downloading pirated software. They're getting a complaint from one of their copyright holders.
I just don't understand. Is that true?
Yeah.
That just doesn't seem possible, does it? I mean,
I don't.
How would they know it was you?
I
guess it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's your IP, right?
So, over your address.
So my question is, how do the copyright, I guess, if it's the movie, and let's say it's NBC Universal, how would NBC Universal know that you're doing this?
I don't know.
I don't know if it's a non-story or what.
It sounds crazy to me.
See, it sounds wacky, but I'm curious how they're finding out that you're downloading stuff.
Right.
If you're downloading BitTorrent, how do they know that you're downloading a BitTorrent of, the Van Halen album? And then blasting it on your phone while you're walking in a lobby in a hotel. And thinking they're playing Van Halen.
As we all do.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious.
I wasn't the only one.
I've done it 1,000 times. But that's actually scary that they're going to be automatically fining you anywhere from $20 to $300.
I don't get that.
In the letter. Let me see if I have the letter here. Google Fiber fines. I have the letter I sent. I saw before. Boy Genius report. BMG will pursue. So this is one from BMG, for example. BMG offers suspected pirates to settle any offer under blah, blah, blah. So they're pretty much going to charge you anywhere from $20 to $300. BMG says BMG will pursue every available remedy, including injunctions and recovery for attorney fees, costs, and any other and all damages, which are incurred by BMG as a result of any action.
What other damages might occur?
Talking to the legal
how are these
department.
damages evaluated?
Yeah. In order to help you avoid any other illegally, Yeah, look at this. In order to help you avoid further legal action from BMG, we have been authorized to offer a settlement solution that we believe is reasonable for everybody. So this is actually, I'm curious if all the ISPs are going to follow with this.
This is insanity.
Like, does it really? So every kid that's going and downloading stuff, they're just going to start getting hit with legal letters from the ISP.
I just don't understand. I don't get this. I just don't get this.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
I mean, the point of getting Google Fiber would be so you could steal everything. I mean, what is? Am I missing something here?
Yeah, I just want to download it all. So I don't know. I just I'm curious to see what happens with this, and if this is actually something that happens. They may be just trying to scare you at first, but it's going to be really hard to prove that you were the one downloading it.
Right.
So you don't even have to download music. They could just offer you a settlement so you could save the attorney fee and fight it. Yeah. You don't even have to do anything. You're just getting money. I don't know. And Charters is buying Time Warner.
Yeah.
So that merger, the first merger didn't go through, but this one will probably go through.
The first one was
Comcast. Yeah. Which got thrown out. So it's amazing that it happened so quickly. So that means that this merger was on the back burner. Like, listen, if we can't get the Comcast deal to work, this is what we're going to do.
Plan B, you know?
Yeah. So the ISPs are getting smaller and smaller. I'm curious if this is going to create some sort of like revolution where you're going to have like micro providers, you know? Just people buying up bandwidth and just selling it in their local communities. Just having a much smaller ISP.
So those actually exist.
They do, yeah, and they do quite well.
The problem is they're often monopolies. Like the friends of ours we have who live in the next town over don't have a choice of carriers. They just get whatever the town sanctioned one is, and has I don't know the name of it. I apologize, but you have no choice. If you want cable TV and internet and probably phone, you go with these guys. And that's all. I guess you could get Dish or something. Like there's no. It's just what the town has some contract with this firm, whatever they are.
And the municipality is responsible for this. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's it. I don't actually think that's great, to be honest. And consolidation is natural, but at some point, you want to avoid like the monoculture issue.
But couldn't Google technically say, okay, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come in and we're going to supply the pipe to you guys to a smaller ISP. They're going to give them with, let's say, 10 gigabytes a second. And you're going to be able to spread this out amongst, your community. So that's your cap. Your cap is that much, and that's all you're going to get at the time. That is your max speed.
Like a Cricket or a Boost for...
Yeah, like a smaller ISP.
Wired,
so Throt ISP in Denham could, supply 100 customers with, a couple megabits here and there. And it's going to be much cheaper. Just to fight... the monopoly. Yeah, because it is a monopoly. I mean, you have no other options.
Right.
And regulation doesn't really work because they've been trying to regulate this for years and they can't because the ISPs
but those companies, they're not dumb pipes, Andrew. They sell services and they have apps.
Isn't that amazing?
They have stuff.
Well, that's why Verizon's buying AOL.
We got an ad on the TV the other day to buy a movie from whatever Verizon Fios's on-demand system is called. Who cares? And I looked at my wife and I was like, why would anyone buy a movie from this company? Right? I mean, if everything goes right in our lives, we will not be on Fios for the rest of our lives.
By the way, that movie goes away also because it's a rental.
Oh, no, you can buy it. I mean,
you can buy it.
You can buy it, but it's attached to your Verizon account.
Okay.
And it's like the content providers that I do business with directly are not, they will persist beyond my current internet access. You know what I mean? Like that's just weird to me. It doesn't seem, they're so desperate to be Apple when in fact they're just the gas company,
Yeah. Well, I got an ad from Verizon. By the way, Verizon is sponsoring today's show, so but it doesn't really matter. I got an ad from Verizon. No, not that I'm going to bash them. If I was, I would. It doesn't even matter. I
am using Verizon Fios. But I find it interesting that they're trying to sell these services.
What I did find interesting is that Verizon Fios had an ad here in New York for a la carte service.
Yeah.
And it wasn't called a la carte. It was called like viewer's choice. Whatever you want to pick, you could pick. And I'm really curious on, are people actually going to do this? Are people going to actually go and pick? I don't even know how their a la carte works at this time. Let me see, Verizon Fios packages. I don't know how the a la carte works because I may just
pay. I mean,
I may just turn everything off. I don't want anything. All I want is USA.
A la carte for some 2-year contract. I mean, you ever do this thing? You're kind of clicking around on TV. Like we get most of the channels. Like it seems like we have a pretty healthy package of, channels, right? So I'm clicking around in the we have all the movie channels and everything, but I'm up in the upper numbers, not in the movie channels, but kind of just below those. And I click. I wish I could remember what it was, but you get that screen that says, "Oh, you don't get this channel. If you think this is a mistake, hit the blue button or whatever." And I'm thinking, first, I find it odd that I don't get this channel because I'm already paying for all this stuff. But B,
who's getting this channel?
Well, so yeah, in other words, some people are paying for this stuff. I mean, this must be part of a package that's not the movie channels, but these other kind of, like business class is to first class or something. And, I really want to watch this thing. Could I just pay? Could I get it for the day? Could I get like a day pass? Could I get it seems like if they made it easy, a lot of people would buy into it. Like we're used to being home at night and saying, I'm going to rent a movie on Apple TV or something. Like, what if I'm clicking around on the Fios lineup and it's like, there's a movie on some channel. I'd pay for it,
Okay. Custom TV
really
lineup.
do that.
Here we go. Are you ready for this? Choose 2 channel packs. Additional channel packs are $10 more a month. So custom TV. Let's see the custom TV channel pack. There's lifestyle, entertainment, news info, pop culture, kids, sports plus this. You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember that mock-up that someone made about net neutrality and if it doesn't pass, what we're going to see with the ISPs?
Yeah.
This is exactly what it looks like.
Right.
It's actually really funny.
So they're not individual channels. They're like themed sets of channels.
Let me see. No,
basically, right?
Okay, get many popular base channels and all the local... So the local is part of it. So you can sign up for lifestyle and something else.
Lifestyle.
So lifestyle would be... Lifestyle. Which one is USA? So entertainment is USA. So I need that one. And I would probably do news and info, so that's 2.
And then buffet.
It's a little buffet,
and then I would do 3 sides with this meal. Amber. They could be USA Network. You could get, Comedy Central.
But it doesn't say how much the starting price is.
Right.
All right, we could do this for hours, but we got to wrap it up, Paul. Maybe we'll do it in the after show. Let's see. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Guys, if you miss any portion of the show, be sure to subscribe to us. We're everywhere podcasts are available. It really helps us out when you subscribe to the show. We have an SD version, an HD version, and an audio-only version. We're on every single application you could possibly imagine. So check us out wherever. Leave us reviews if it asks you for a review. You know what? Give us a little review. Say, I like Andrew's hair this week. It looked really nice on What the Tech. Since he stopped wearing the big headphone, he doesn't get like the weird crunchy mark in his hair. So, A+ for his hair. You can do that. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. You can follow Paul at The Rot on Twitter. Paul also does a phenomenal podcast called Windows Weekly every Wednesday at 2 p.m. East on the Twit Network. Thorot.com, all things Paul Thorot. He's always busy writing away over there. And that's it for this week, guys. We'll see you all next week. Take care.